Hey everybody, welcome back to Brainiac Baseball's 1969 Seattle Pilots What If Scenario. This video here will be our final standings and league leaders video. If you have not yet watched game 162, we played it earlier this morning. It is deserving of your viewership. If you have time to take a look, I recommend it. We did give away our final prize for the 1969 season, which was the 1970 Skip Lockwood autograph photo with certificate of authenticity. I almost forgot what it was. So that was a lot of fun. We wrapped that up today, and the season is concluded, except we were lucky enough, as you can see right here, to win the American League West, and we are going to the playoffs to face the Baltimore Orioles, in which the series for the season was closed out against. So we're going to stay in Baltimore. We're not going to fly all the way back home to Seattle and then come all the way back to Baltimore. We're going to have the team stay at a very fancy hotel, which is basically like a $40 a night hotel in 1969. We're staying at the Motel 6 in Baltimore, down by the stadium. And it's going to be an interesting series. We do have one snag. If we take a look at the schedule here, just prior to jumping into the standings officially, you'll see that we lost today. There's a day off, and then we advance to October, and you see that we are actually ready to go. Like, we only get one day off between the end of the season and the beginning of the playoffs of the ALCS, technically. And that sucks, because what that means is we cannot start Gene Brabender in game one because he is still listed as resting or as tired. If we look at our pitching, you'll see here, as we click on Gene Brabender, 1 day until rested. So we cannot actually start Gene Brabender in game one. We're going to go Stevenson in one, Brabender in game two, which makes sense. And then we'll come home and we'll let Marty Patton start game three. We're going to go with only 10 pitchers, which is less than what we've done in the regular season. We're going to do that because we really don't have a staff of great relievers anyway. I mean, beyond our standard group. So what we're going to do is we'll have Stevenson, Brabender, and Marty Patton as our three starters. And then we have, as our closer, of course, is Marshall. We have Lockwood. We have Riddleberger, Segui, and Rodlock, and two mop-up pitchers, one lefty and one righty, Brubaker and John Morris. If we have any major struggles from these three starting pitchers, we probably go to Brubaker or Morris first out of the pen, and then we do matchups beyond that. So, I'm not really sure, what our advantage could be in this series, other than we know that we can do it because we've done it before. So we're going to have one less bench guy. We're going to go with our regular starting lineup. I'm assuming Jim Palmer is going to start game one, although they've tricked us all series in the final series of the year. So I'm assuming it's going to be Jim Palmer for sure in game one. And so our lineup versus our right-hander are these fellas right here. And then our bench will be Sutherland and Kessinger. Sutherland will be great versus lefties. Don Kessinger can be defensive replacement anywhere. Joe Pepitone, in case we need a lefty bat in there somewhere. Don Bosch, I guess, and Wayne Comer as far as outfielders. Elise Bosch is a switch hitter, so we could bring him off the bench as a pinch hitter, as a lefty bat. And Jerry May is our backup catcher. And then everybody else is I guess Bill Robinson also, because we went with 10. That's right, my bad. So Bill Robinson, we don't really need him, but he's there, and then everybody else is back in their minor league habitat. There you go. That's basically our team for the American League championship series in order to go to the World Series. So the Orioles have reconfigured their. Oh, come on. So is it going to be Dave McNally? It is going to be a left-hander. So now I've got to go back and set up our lineup versus a lefty. And in fact, it's going to be two lefties in the first three games. Oh, man. And actually, after Palmer came off the IL, they never did pitch him. So he's going to be well rested for Game 4, which could be a closeout sweep for the Orioles. So very interesting the way things have gone down the stretch. We played pretty well considering. It's going to be Stevenson versus Dave McNally. You see down here in this box. And then Brabender versus Phoebus. We have a day off, and then it'll be Cuellar versus Patton, and then back to Stevenson for Game 4. So our best pitcher, Brabender, will not likely get 3 starts, but it's hard to say. All right, well, let's get on with what we need to do today, and that is take a look at the final standings, and then we'll look at the league leaders, and then we'll get ready for tomorrow to play Game 1 of the ALCS. All right, so as we know, Baltimore won the division. Cleveland, a really good job. I mean, those guys made a bunch of trades. They just couldn't get past the best team in the American League, which is Baltimore. You got to give them credit. They leapfrogged over New York, which is no easy task. But New York had terrible hitters, and for some reason, they just couldn't figure out how to play their good players. I mean, a lot of their better players, they either benched them or put them into AAA. I don't really, this is a team that maybe is going to be better in the future. They'll probably sign a lot of free agents this offseason. But, I mean, with that pitching staff, they kind of really wasted an opportunity here. They had Stottlemyre and Fritz and Al Downing, all three good pitchers under an ERA of 3. Talbot almost lost 20, and they don't really have a solid fifth starter, at least for now. They had Mudcat Grant, who we traded over there. He didn't offer them much. But, so New York, not a good team. Now, Washington, let me say this to you guys. One of the things that I did not consider when I started this 1969 series is that, the Milwaukee Brewers will not exist, right? The Brew Crew is the team that Seattle became in the 1970 series. We know that. We've covered it. What I forgot, I have not considered, is that right before the 1972 season, Washington goes to Texas. And the Rangers are going to be in the West. And Milwaukee goes to the American League East. So what we're going to have to decide when we get there is, what do we do? Which team do we send to the East instead of Milwaukee? Obviously, the Rangers have to be in the West. So it's either going to be Chicago or Minnesota. And, of course, Chicago in real life did go to the American League East at one point during the expansion era, but we did not prepare for that. So I'm guessing it's going to be Chicago that will go to the American League East in 1972 and not Milwaukee. So I'm just saying that out loud is something that we have to consider. But Washington had the most power in the American League in 1969 in our sim. They had 176 home runs. That's pretty damn good. Detroit traded most of their good players very early on. They gave up, and then they kind of made a run for it, and then they settled at 14 games under. And, remembering that this is the year after they won the World Series. They didn't drop like that in real life. They were pretty solid all the way to 1972. And then they just tanked it after that for almost the entire 70s. And then Boston was just absolutely horrible. I can't believe they didn't lose 100 games, so they did better than I expected, to be honest. Then we take a look at the American League West. We won the division. As I communicated to everyone in the video today, we are a team that definitely took advantage of having another expansion team, the Kansas City Royals, and also the Angels, who were an expansion team just 7 years earlier. So they lost 107 games. So we beat up on the lower teams, and we did a good job of controlling our bullpen and bringing relievers in early to rescue our starters that could not get through 5, let alone 6 innings. So I think that's our key, including shutouts, which we had 20, leading the American League, and 1-run games, which we won 33, which was tied with the Yankees. So there you go. That's the American League. Let's take a look at the National League. The NLCS is going to be the Mets versus the Astros. The Astros have such great pitching. I guess the same can be said for the Mets. The Mets have Nolan Ryan and Tom Seaver. The Astros have J.R. Richard. I forget who else is on that team. I guess we could look. Why not? Real quick. J.R. Richard. They have Don Wilson, Larry Dierker. They have a pretty solid bullpen, and their lineup's got Joe Morgan in there as a catalyst, and a couple other good players. Johnny Callison came over in a trade. This is a good team playing in the Astrodome. Obviously the Mets won the World Series in 1969 over Baltimore. It would be interesting to see those teams face off. If Seattle wasn't in the hunt, I think that would be an interesting, real replay of this season. Cubbies traded, Ernie Banks. This was a weird season. Montreal came out of the gate looking pretty good, and then they fell as an expansion team to the bottom. And we already know what happened in the National League West, with San Diego only winning 49 games, which allowed Don T to win the 1975 Topps Dave Roberts baseball card contract, which was signed by overall first-round draft pick, number 1 overall pick, Dave Roberts. So that was a cool prize to give away. And, San Diego completely bottomed out and was by far the worst ERA in the National League. So there you have it. It's going to be New York versus Houston, Seattle versus Baltimore. What a wacky season. Let's get into it with the league leaders. We could easily just jump and look at transactions and see who won all the titles. But I like to go through and just do everything, one category at a time. We'll do batting and fielding combined, and then we'll look at pitching. Carl Yastrzemski, the only batter to bat over 300 in the American League officially. There were a few players like Rod Carew and Joe Torre that batted over 300, but they did not have enough at-bats to qualify because they were platooned. In the top 10, you see Lou Piniella and Rich Rollins. Nice little surprise by Rich Rollins. And you can see how the top 25 round out, with the lowest guy being 259. That's kind of absurd, but we are coming off the year of the pitcher, so it does make some sense, I suppose. There's your batting average. So at-bats. Jim Fregosi beat out Lou Piniella, and if we had kept Lou Piniella in the game yesterday, he probably would have tied him at least, or maybe taken the lead. That is funny that Lou Piniella lost by 1 at-bat. Not that you get a trophy or anything for that, but, it would have been a pilot leading a category, which we probably won't have too many of. Doubles. It's a 4-way tie with Lou Piniella in there. He only had 14 in a pilot's uniform. He had 21 with Kansas City, but he didn't. He was 60 at bats shy. I don't think he would have doubled up, but who knows? You see Stargell there. Thurman Munson with 28. Not a lot of extra base hits. And by the way, Rod Carew, again, tied for the lead with 35, despite being in a platoon. in the game. So that's just weird. Double plays, ERA. Oh, grounding into double plays. I guess I'm curious. Frank Howard had 40, 12 more than Norm Cash. No pilots on that list. Okay, let's take total extra base hits. Willie Stargell had 65, Lou Piniella 48, Tommy Agee had 43. Let's take a look at the fielding averages. Jerry McNerney right in the middle of the pack. Joe Torre did qualify defensively for the fielding average, but not for the batting title. Weird. First base, Mike Hegan and Darren Johnson. I don't remember Darren Johnson being that bad defensively, but I guess he was. How many errors did he have? He had 9 in 105 starts. It doesn't seem that bad. But he did have a negative range and WAR. So there you have it. And you'll see the rest of the top players there. Okay. Second base, there's Van Kelly. He qualified, and he was good. 980. That's reasonable. Horace Clark with a 996. That's pretty damn good defensively. How many errors did he have? He had 2 errors. Oh, but he barely qualified as well. I don't know what the qualifications are. 50% of you got to start 50% of the games? Oh, let's see. How many did Kelly start? 61. I don't know. That's just... And 84. I don't know. All right, third base. Excuse me. Rich Rollins with a 927. That does not surprise me. He was terrible. That is a problem for us. Brooks Robinson was the best. No shock there, right? Shortstop is nobody from our team because we could never find anybody until Patek, and Patek wasn't very good. Ed Brinkman for the Senators had a 9.79 ERA. Left field was Roy White. I think Julio else said in one of the comments, like, why is Roy White not in the everyday Yankee lineup? Because he's so good defensively, and he is. Otherwise, it would have been Lou Piniella. Center field, Del Unser for Washington. They had a few good defensive players on Washington. Tommy Agee, the worst. He had 12 errors in the outfield combined. Right fielder is Bobby Mercer. That makes sense. He was great. Wow, Reggie Jackson, number 2. He's pretty young, so I guess that could make sense. All right. Games played. Nobody played all 162. Frank Quilici played 156. Lou Piniella, 149. Tommy Agee, 145. So there you have it. Hits. Lou Piniella was going for the top hits leader, but he fell 3 short. I don't think he would have caught him today against Fregosi. They were both in the starting lineup. 173, that seems kind of low even for this era, but I guess that's how it was. Hit by pitch, Lou Piniella had 8 combined, and Tony Soleta of the Yankees just beat out his other teammates. Home runs. Here we go. Home run lead was a tie. Norm Cash and Willie Stargell with 31. That's kind of lame, right? AG had 23. Darren Johnson had 1 in the last game of the season. That was a big blast to make the list. Home run percentage, Willie Stargell edged out Norm Cash. 4.3% for Tommy Agee, and Mike Hegan had 3.1. Intentional walks. Oh, yeah, Sam Bowen's the only player on that team. Actually, I think it's because he was batting 8th in that lineup and he had so much power. because they had the most home runs of any team, right? So I think they must have had him batting 8th, and they intentionally walk him to get to the pitcher. That makes sense, I guess. On base percentage, it's Carl Yastrzemski, over 400 in 1969. That is very impressive, especially on the last place team. So good job by him. Mike Hegan had 352, which is nothing to sneeze at. He had 70 walks. I would imagine he's on the list. Have I missed anything here? Outfield assists total. AG had 8 and Piniella had 9. I don't think he had that many for us. Wow, Reggie had 13 and Yaz had 13. That seems weird. Piniella, okay, yeah, he had only 1 in a pilot's uniform. And AG had 3 in right, 3 in left, and 2 in center. So he's terrible defensively, and I think he just got, the numbers game going for him. More people tried against him, so he had more outfield assists. I guess OPS. Nobody over 1,000. In fact, the only one over 900 was Willie Stargell. I think he's going to be your MVP. I don't think they named that today. So, also, having mentioned that, in the post on the YouTube page, I'm going to put a 2 polls, one for the team MVP batter and the team MVP pitcher. And then maybe we'll make a 3rd poll where we put like 2 of the biggest vote getters from the bats and 2 from the arms, and we'll have a final vote, because there are so many players on this team that are deserving of the team MVP. It's very difficult to narrow it down, and I'll let you guys decide who you think the overall team MVP is. Just give me till later tonight to get it up onto the channel. Plate appearances, Lou Piniella's on the list. Mike Adams, that jerk, 696 plate appearances. We don't need to look at range factor. RBIs, only 1 batter got over 100. That's Norm Cash. I mean, there were so many unearned runs in this season. I think at one point Dave K from Not Your Status Quo had given us a total of how many unearned runs there were in real life. I would love to compare how many there were in this game. I don't know how to do that exactly, but I would love to know. And I bet you it's like double. Lou Piniella had 86 combined between Kansas City and Seattle. AG and McNertney. Gosh, McNertney. I mean, so technically AG had the team lead in RBI, and 1 less was Jerry McNertney. Kind of amazing. Very amazing, in fact. And McNertney, despite a terrible batting average, is definitely an MVP candidate. And this is why. Runners thrown out. McNertney second with 36, behind the great arm of John Roseboro. Jerry May made the cut at the bottom. Thurman Munson up there, Jim Franch. So yeah, there you go. That's why, and this is why. Runners thrown out percentage, 42.4%. That is very good in any era of baseball. So those are stats to be considered when you're thinking about who is our team MVP. Runs scored, Mike Adams and Don Locke, both over 100. So we had 1 RBI over 100 and 2 runs scored over 100. My apologies for looking at my phone there briefly. Okay, let's take a look. I don't care about runs created. I don't even really understand that stat or why it would be valuable. Sacrifice hits. Hey, there's another reason to maybe vote for Jerry McNertney as the team leader for MVP. He had 16 sacrifice hits to lead all of the American League. Brabender and Patek were on that list too. Sack flies. Oh, Darren Johnson. Hey, we could sacrifice our team. Maybe that's one of the cogs to our, to our division win. Maybe we played small ball well. All right. I don't care about slugging. We already saw OPS. Steals. Here we go. Bert Campaneris led the American League with 56 stolen bases. Tommy Agee had 38. Freddie Patek had 12. He was just absolutely terrible. He had 12 stolen bases for us, and he was thrown out 19 times, despite having a 94 rating. That sucks. Steal success. Angel Bravo, 90%. 17 out of 19, and he only played 60 games, but apparently that qualifies. All right. There's Tommy Harper. We traded him to Kansas City. Wait, what? Oh, that's combined. So he was 18 for 32, perhaps? Anyway, so there you go. Strikeout percent. Yeah, we hit and run a lot, and that'll keep your strikeout percent down. Rich Rollins and Lou Piniella are our two best hit and run guys. And then Jerry McNerney, just a contact hitter, man. Walt Williams at 6.6%. So 7 out of 100 times still strike out, which I suppose is pretty damn good. Total bases. Willie Stargell, 271. Lou Piniella had 243. Tommy Agee, 217. Triples. Frank Quilici had 11. Don Bosch had 6. Rollins 5. Agee 4. And walks. Wow. There were 5 batters over 100. Jim French, that's got to be the biggest surprise. 101 walks for a guy that never really played. He had a 96 eye. He batted 187. That's why he batted so low. He had 10 more walks than he had hits. That's stupid. That is just dumb. Mike Hegan just made the cut at 70, which is, that's a lot of walks, and he's 25th. Interesting. And then, okay, that's it. All right, let's take a look at the pitchers, not the belly itchers. We're just going to go right in line, with categories. Complete games, that would not be us. Catfish Hunter had 12. And you see some of the other top pitchers on that list. ERA, here we go. Andy Messersmith, he missed a good deal of the final month of the season, but did enough to qualify at a 246 clip, just edging out Mel Stottlemyre. There's Al Downing, Catfish, Fritz, Dave Boswell, and Brabender makes the cut. Even Jerry Stevenson, who will be our starting pitcher in Game 1 of the series, he had a top 13 ERA, so, we have a chance, right? We had 2 pitchers in the top 15, and Baltimore had 3, all bunched up like that. And Mike Cuellar's right there as well. So there you go. That's interesting. Games pitched. Steve Hamilton of the Yankees made it into 78 games. You'll see there's our 4 main relievers. Ron Locke was our first lefty out of the bullpen almost every time. And that hurt us down the stretch because he definitely kind of lost it a little bit. Hopefully a few days off will get him rested for the playoffs. Raleigh Fingers is a name you recognize. Sparky Lyle. And, so there you go. Okay. Grounded to double plays induced. Jim Rooker of Kansas City induced 39 double plays, one more than Joe Coleman. Yeah, you won't see one of our pitchers on there. Mostly because we didn't, our starters didn't go deep into ball games. There just wasn't as many opportunities. Okay. Hits per 9. Wow, we had two batters. We had two pitchers, two starters in the top 6. Gene Broadbender almost could have led in the category, and Jerry Stevenson also under 7 hits per 9. But Broadbender walks a lot. Jerry Stevenson just walks, I think, the average amount probably for a starter. Hit batters, who hit the most batters? Jim Rooker with 14. There's the rest of the dudes. Home runs allowed. We know this is going to be Denny McLean. Yeah. I don't know what the hell got into him. 62. Oh, Joe Pactwa, the guy that I converted him to pitcher because he was a pitcher, and the game had him as a batter. I converted him, and he gave up 22 home runs in 3 innings. We had to forcibly retire him so he wouldn't have that much more impact on the season. So that was the right thing to do. I know there was a little bit of pushback from the viewers. I think he probably would have given up 130 home runs. We just don't want that kind of influence on the season. And that might have influenced some of the Yankee losses. That's a bummer. But we took care of it. Innings pitched. Yeah, we're not going to have anybody close on this list. We were in a 5-man rotation for a better part of the first half of the year, and then we got a suggestion, it might have been from Don T, that we should go to a 4-man, and we did. And although we had better pitchers starting every 4 days, we definitely, I guess we added so many innings to those pitchers early on that we had to cut them short toward the end, where they were only pitching 4 or 5 innings. I guess the word was accumulated is the word I was looking for there. Innings pitched, innings per 9. Yeah, we didn't have anybody close on that list. Andy Messersmith almost had 8 innings per game on a terrible, terrible last place team. None of this stuff I care about. Quality starts. Yeah, we're not going to be on that list either. Dean Chance and Mel Stottlemyre had 29 quality starts out of 35, 40? Out of 38. So 29 for 38 and 29 for 38. Oh, I bet they'll lead the next category too, which is quality start percentage. Oh, they do not. Oh, pitchers with less starts qualified. So that's Jerry Nyman of the White Sox. Somehow had the most. Okay, whatever. All right, we don't care about range factor. We're almost done here, guys. Runners per 9? What is it? Is that a thing? Oh, yeah, it doesn't even work in this game. Never worked. I played this game for 20 years, and that stat has never worked. I don't even know how it's in there. Why not add whip? To this league leaders. You can look it up, and you can get a whip category in the Excel spreadsheets. Anyway, moving on. Saves. Here we go. Oh yeah, obviously Mike Marshall. He had 12 more than Al Worthington. Great job by him this year. Also could be a team MVP, considering he had absolutely shut everybody down. Save success. Mike Marshall, third in that at 89.4%. Al Worthington, 30 saves, 3 blueies. And Fred Wenz of the last place Boston Red Sox, 17 for 19. So not all that exciting. Okay, we're almost done. Strikeouts pitched. No, wait, I'm sorry. Shutouts. Getting a little ahead of myself here. Shutouts, Dave Boswell and Al Downing both had 5. Gene Broadbender had 3. He had 3 complete games and 3 shutouts. He almost had 2 no-hitters this year, in fact. Okay, and we had strikeouts pitched. Strikeouts pitched, Al Downing had 237. Stevenson just missed a cut. He had 153. Downing over McLean and Juan Pizarro, the opening day starter. For Boston, that's who we played against on opening day. He finished with 220. Messersmith probably would have won the strikeout total if he had not been injured. Is he still injured? Yeah. So he could have had another 5 starts. He would have led. And probably will next year if he stays healthy. Strikeouts per 9. Whoa! Wow. I would never have guessed that. Stevenson had 8.05 strikeouts per 9. Better than Vita Blue. Better than Downing or Messersmith or Mickey Lolich or Louis Tiant. And then Gene Brabender was right there as well. God, wow, that's kind of impressive. I never would have guessed that. We're wrapping it up here. Walks per 9, Marty Patton. He probably should have won that category, but he just started walking a few at the end as his inning pitch total crept up. But he probably would have been number 1. But still, number 2 is great. And that's maybe the only good thing that we have from him for Game 3 against Baltimore. And then finally, the win total. Dean Chance and Dave Boswell, 23 and 22 wins. I mean, Minnesota should have had, hands down won the division. We just managed them. I'm going to give myself credit for managing that bullpen and allowing us to at least have a shot to win the division over Minnesota. And maybe, the computer AI also benefited us somewhere along the way. Gene Brabender had 13 wins. He just got stuck there. Look at his log. Yeah, I mean, he had 1 win in the last 6 starts. So he probably could have finished around 15 or 16, but 188 innings pitched from Brabender. And he was injured for a period of time this year as well. Okay, that's it, right? Okay, so we're just gonna flip over to the National League and just look at the 4 main categories here. There's your National League total. We have Pete Rose as the batting champ, batting .315 over Willie Davis. Hank Aaron, awesome. And Bake McBride, is he a rookie? Yeah, 20-year-old Bake McBride with the fro and the sideburns. I love it. That is awesome. Yeah, so there you go for your batting average leaders. Very cool. Home runs, also Hank Aaron. He's going to be the MVP, I bet. He had 39, 8 more than Dick Allen and Jim Ray Hart. Mike Schmidt, not a rookie in real life, but a rookie in this game. He could be Rookie of the Year. 29 home runs, 95 walks. That is amazing. I love it. There's Billy Williams, Bobby Bonds, Johnny Bench. He's in his 3rd year. I mean, there's some great, awesome names on this list. Oh, there's even a couple Padres on a terrible team. Ollie Brown had 19, and John sipping some gin and juice. A guy I've never heard of. There he is in a Japanese for the Giants in Japan. What's that team? Yokohama? I'm just guessing. I don't know. But anyway, there you go. Cool. And then for pitching, ERA leader was Nolan Ryan. Oh, man. Nicely done from Nolan Ryan, a 189 ERA. Bob Gibson, Don Wilson. Who's Bobby Darwin? Oh, he's a batter that the game made a pitcher. That's bullshit. That's Bush League on this game. Just so stupid. I mean, just so dumb. I hate that. God, I hate that so much. Don Sutton, Gaylord Perry, Hall of Famers, guys. Seaver, Marichal, You got Don Drysdale right there, and Lefty Carlton, and the Coos, and Jim Bunning. J.R. Richard, a personal favorite, and Steve Rogers as a rookie, a 19-year-old rookie for the Expos. He's on the Yankees in our 1984 Detroit Tigers season replay that we'll continue on. And then the wins leader, there you go. You have Nolan Ryan. So he'll be the Cy Young, I would imagine. There were, what is that, seven players that won more than 20 games in 1969, keeping in mind that they were built off of the 1968 season. So, all right, let's wrap this puppy up. Let's take a look at the transactions here. We had a couple. Well, one thing happened is Fergie Jenkins at the end of the season here on the 30th was given a 4-year extension for the Cubbies. I already went in and adjusted him to give him the proper contract. Otherwise, it would just say arbitration there. I had to do it anyway. So I knocked it out, and there's all your title leaders if you need it. Yeah, Ron Santo, Willie Stargell, tied for RBIs. Everybody there. And then Steve Boros retired. And he got into a September call-up for the Royals. Had a home run, and then he said, that's it, I'm done. So there are your leaders in all the major categories as compiled and brought to you by the game. So, headline news. Tigers scoreless. This is the end of the season wrap-up. We didn't do this. I guess I just didn't want to spoil it. Torrey gets 4 hits in the final game, and that'll bring you up to date there. And then, you know what I didn't do also, and we're just going to pop this up real quick. We didn't put up the box score in the final game, so we're just going to pull that up here. Look at it. So go ahead and pause it if you want a longer look. And anyway, that's going to do it for the league leaders and the final standings. If we hadn't made the playoffs, we would have just we would have moved through the playoff tree and wrapped that up today as well, and we would have went right into free agent signings. But we are part of it somehow. We are the worst team of the 4, and I guess that makes sense. But we are going to come back tomorrow and face the Baltimore Orioles as they are going to throw a left-hander, Dave McNally, at us. I have to adjust our lineup, and Jerry Stevenson will get the start for us because Brabender is still resting from his start in the second to last game of the season. So that will do it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you all for sticking around through this long, crazy season. Let's hope we can make it to the World Series. That would be a lot of fun to play the Mets or Houston. But we have our work cut out for us. So we're going to come back tomorrow, play that game 1. Until then, everyone, have a great day.